Yeah, that's right, Mark. I'm down at Ontario Place where news of potential transit plans is making waves along the harbour front. Behind me is about 155 acres of what is largely public space. Now, this land has sat more or less empty since 2012. For years now, building transit down here to Ontario Place has been called essential. But now that there's word that some private partnership might be used and needed to foot the bill, there's concerns about what this public space might look like or how much of it might fall into public hands in the future.
We don't have a lot of detail on what this private partnership looks like, but just from the math perspective, if he's saying his plan is going to be around $28 billion and that his province is committed to spending $11.2 billion, there's a bit of a shortfall there.
Back in January, we spoke with the community organization Waterfront for All, who want to see this valuable, sprawling piece of property preserved as public parkland.
The value is incalculable. In the same way, how would you put a value on Central Park?
Today we caught up with another Waterfront for All board member, Susan Kavanagh, who says she was initially happy to hear transit plans for Ontario Place, but her joy was immediately followed by skepticism over the potential endgame for Doug Ford and his government.
Is this another Trojan horse? So we have to be careful because all of a sudden we're getting this supposed plan for transit for the waterfront, but at what cost? He's also made it very clear he does not want the province to spend any money on this land. So if he is talking about development and if he is thinking about perhaps, say, residential development, then who is going to look after the infrastructure? And then who's going to do the environmental assessment on this land?
Today, CityNews asked Doug Ford if the public-private building of transit means he's looking at major development at Ontario Place. The Premier didn't give us a clear answer.
We're going to build the best destination going. Once we get this built, they'll be able to go down to a beautiful destination at Ontario Place, a great destination at Exhibition. We're going to join those as one destination, and it's just going to be an incredible location for visitors and people that live in Toronto and Ontario and Canada to come and visit.
The province has tried to form private partnerships for Ontario Place in the past. Back in July of 2014, the then provincial Liberal government announced its long-term vision to revive the amusement park graveyard with a plan that included a discovery and an innovation hub, a canal district, parks, and trails.
Our government is 100% committed to making sure that this project is successful.
While that announcement was big on promises, it was short on funding from the private sector and never took off. Today, Mayor John Tory said this was the first time he was made aware of a potential transit stop at Ontario Place. CityNews also asked Tory what a public-private transit plan could mean for this untapped acreage along Lake Ontario.
I've made my opposition to a casino there very well known now in the wake of that whole exercise that people don't want a lot of large-scale development there. They want some things there that liven that site up 12 months of the year. They want a lot of parkland and the ability to go near the water and be in that kind of a setting. But I think that regardless of what you put there, if you put there a park only, that's all it was just a really beautiful park, which I would have no objection to. If that's what they wanted to do, you still need better transit to get there than we have today. I think it is a helpful addition to have some concept to get more transit to Ontario Place and the Exhibition. Whether this is exactly the answer, I guess we'll now begin to discuss.
So still more questions than answers today. Susan Kavanagh and the folks at Waterfront for All tell me they'll be keeping a close eye on tomorrow's provincial budget to see if there's anything in there that might shed some light on what could be coming for Ontario Place.